And we are live. Welcome to the After Dram. Welcome to you, the viewer. Welcome to the fantastic panel in front of us today. And welcome again to Davin de Kergommeaux, author of Canadian Whiskey. Oh, let's get it. We're doing it. Canadian Whiskey, the new portable expert. We all have it. We all got it. That's a good screenshot right there. It's the After Dram. That means it's time to unwind. It's time to put your feet up. It's time to grab a dram or two. And I got my two. And it's time to relax. Davin, I've asked this you before, but can you believe that it's already been a month and a half?
Feels like a year.
It's just dragging Wandolph. Get on with it. All right. So let's talk about a couple things. One, again, this book right here, it's Search for Our Whiskey Bothy. We're starting this next week. We're doing this for 4 weeks. As we're doing this, we are going to have Ralphie's Whiskey of the Year. And our first Whiskey of the Year, I can see it, but I don't want to reach for it, is Bunnahabhain 12. That was his 2010 Whiskey of the Year. And if you follow Ralphie at all, you know that just before New Year's, he comes out with his Dram of the Year, and he sells a lot of whiskey that way now. He really does. But this was the very first one, and I agree with all of them except for one of them.
Oh, so
and
first off, Dolph, that is
Whiskey of the Year.
Right, Bunnahabhain 12 is the new one.
What's that?
That is not the right Bunnahabhain 12. That is the new version.
Yeah, it's the only one I could get. You're not supposed to point it out. Thank you very much. Good stuff. Onward to our next book. All right. So number two, we are going to be coming to this with Davin in a little while. It'll be June 13th, but we're going to be doing our own special Canadian whiskey journey. Davin and his co-author, Blair Phillips. And this, again, is called The Definitive Guide. No. It's called The Definitive Guide to Canadian Distilleries, the portable expert to 200 distilleries and the spirits they make. It'll be Davin and Blair will be our spiritual tour guides. You get that? Spirit tour guides? I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
as we take a road, and you should call yourself that, Davin. I think that's something you should do. You should adapt that. I
never thought of that. Yeah.
We're taking a road trip around Canada's provinces. We're doing the territories, and it's 13 of them. We are starting on June 13th, and we are going to go for 13 weeks, and we are going to go through, hopefully, whiskey, but not every province is making whiskey, so it's other alcohol expressions. So, every week, Davin and Blair will enlist the services of someone from a distillery of the province or territory we're dealing with. So an owner, a distiller, a brand ambassador, someone that will help me and a few friends get to know over 200 Canadian distilleries. And what better way to spend the summer than traveling, virtually, but traveling, drinking whiskey, trying some cocktails, and spending time with some great people. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have Davin back, and the time might not be 7 o'clock. It might be 6. It might be 5. We're going to decide when we talk to Davin and Blair and the other distillers, because we're dealing with people across Canada. So Davin's far enough 2 hours away in Ottawa, but when we deal with people 3 hours difference in the Maritimes, maybe a 7 o'clock start's not the best idea. So we're going to decide on that at one point. Davin will tell me what he wants to do. We'll do it. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Fantastic. So again, next 4 weeks. The 13 weeks after that, starting June 13th. June 13th. All right. 13 and 13. I did that on purpose. Well, no, I just realized, but and yes,
it sounded good.
And there's 13 provinces and territories, right? So Davin mentions, I'm going to go back to one of the questions, and I'm going to read off the side. The adversity that distillers face in Canada with taxes. And this made me think of Dave right away. So we're going to throw this to Dave. He uses Manitoba as an example where whiskey is taxed more than vineyards, and they don't have any vineyards, so they're not supporting their industry there. So how much of a limitation was that for two brewers there, Dave?
Well, we all say taxes are too high. I think the government says, well, they can't be high enough because everybody keeps buying stuff. But we look at each province as a different country. And we say, well, if we don't want to participate with their rules, then we don't have to go there. And the tax structure is different all over the place. And I can talk about Alberta because I live here. We're a flat tax. One of the bottles that I know very well, the tax here is $13.76. Same bottle, same landed wholesale price in BC. That's a $99 bottle, like a $94 bottle to the liquor stores. So there's an extra $20, let's call it round numbers, in tax that the government gets. And you go to Ontario, it's, what is it, 101.397? Is that what it is? 139 point?
Don't know.
Yeah, I do know because I got the number. I did my research for once, Davin.
My golly.
Printed them all off. Good.
Well, so for a lower priced whiskey, the tax isn't that big, but if you get into a more expensive whiskey, the tax really grows. That's one of the issues. The other issue with the provinces is just trying to get into the province because the liquor board runs the thing and they have a whiskey buyer. And the whiskey buyer, I don't understand sometimes how they do things, but we were told by one province that if your whiskey was 35 wholesale, we would list you. So all of a sudden we got painted in with all the other whiskeys that are in that price category. So I was really pissed off about it, thinking, well, you don't really understand whiskey. You understand purchasing where you just buy low and buy lots of it.
Well, and let's say what I'm drinking tonight, a $35 bottle. What's how much they make on this? And I'm talking about Alberta Premium. How much are they going to make?
They being the provincial government is $10. They being the federal government is $370, whatever. Call it $376.
Okay.
So I've got this really cool price example of whiskey from Ontario, and I didn't make this up, but it starts off with all the whiskey costs $6.16 landed in Ontario. Doesn't matter whether it comes from Canada, Europe, or NAFTA. By the time they put all their taxes and everything on it, a Canadian whiskey is $27.50. A European whiskey is $28.35. So $6.21 goes back to the manufacturer. That includes his shipping costs and everything. And 16.
And is that for any whiskey? Like any whiskey?
No, that's so. If you look at it, is you've got to have, for an example, you have to have a number to start with. So on a $6.16, let's start this again. $6.21 bottle landed at the Ontario government. That bottle will retail for $27.50.
And how's that hinder you guys that your bottles are close to $100 here in Alberta, right? Yeah. It's about that price point for everyone.
When we go to Ontario, the first problem is they don't understand us because we can't put whiskey in every one of their liquor stores. Mm-hmm. We tell them that our whiskey shouldn't be in every one of your liquor stores because we don't make whiskey for every liquor store. We make, let's call it a little higher end whiskey.
Yep.
So we want to be in the top, say 20, 25 stores. And our problem is we couldn't fill every liquor store in Ontario.
You don't produce enough a year.
Well, we can't.
Yeah.
And that's where looking at Davin's book was just staggering, the amount of whiskey that's produced in Canada by the Big Eight.
Yeah.
Yep, they make a lot of whiskey.
The numbers are just absolutely crazy.
But that goes to the U.S. It doesn't stay in Canada.
But still, what they sell in Canada is still staggering.
Yeah.
So, Davin, so let's say stock and barrel. So we have this. How much more of a profit do they make on this than Crown Royal makes on their bottle, do you figure?
I have no idea.
Right?
I
Would it be similar or not? Like,
imagine it would be similar. Except profit, no, because Crown Royal obviously is more profitable because they have, economies of scale.
yes.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, I mean for one bottle. So I'm thinking Stock and Barrel makes the same as Dave does with two brewers, makes the same as Crown Royal. No?
I wouldn't. Because we don't make a lot, we're not going to give it away. Like we're not in the volume game.
So you're going to bounce up your price more, obviously.
Well, we value our time and our effort, and we think our whiskey is good enough that we can ask for a little more.
Okay.
I don't think we're gouging anybody, but I look at the mass production side is it's about volume. We've got these big plants producing millions of liters of whiskey. We got to sell that. We can't have that backing up. It's like the cattle now. We got all these cows backing up here in Alberta. They're going to have to get rid of those cows or they won't go to market. So you use the same analogy to whiskey. If you can't sell it, what do you do with it? You got to dump it.
Yeah.
Well, you can let it get older.
Exactly.
You can. So you got to build a bunch of warehouses. And where's the economics in this? That's the whole thing.
Well, I think that one of the problems that the smaller whiskey makers have is that they honestly believe that the liquor boards are in the business of selling liquor.
They're not.
And they're not.
No.
They exist for one sole reason, and that is to enrich the province, to get as much revenue for the province as possible. And if they can sell, 12 cases of vodka or one bottle of Two Brewers, believe me, they're going to sell the vodka.
Well, yeah, or let's say those 12 cases of vodka, if they make $1 off of every bottle. So if there's 6 packs, they've made $72. Man, I got to sell 1 6-pack and I make more than $72. So the government's got a big store to fill. Let's fill it with the national brand stuff because they put it in flyers, they're advertising, they do all that kind of stuff to bring the people in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've convinced people that Canadian whiskey needs to be mixed with Coke. I hate to say that.
Well, I think what we really need to do is we really need to, and it's going to take ages. We've got to one by one just get rid of these liquor boards and let private enterprise handle the sales of alcohol in Canada.
Wow.
Take a look.
Did well in Alberta.
It's done well in Alberta, and you
they're
know
still
what?
making money.
Revenue to the government actually increased when they started selling it privately in Alberta. Good. They don't have any of the overhead, running these big stores. They don't have to, but one of the big problems is, of course, that, you get LCBO, it's a union shop and unions are politically powerful. You're not going to get rid of LCBO because people are afraid they're going to lose votes.
Well, I got to talk to the head of the LCBO. I poured him a number of Two Brewers single malts at an event where every liquor board was there. And he said, well, what stopped you guys from coming to Ontario? I thought, this guy has no clue what is actually going on. He's so high up there that he just doesn't understand it. There's so much other things going on in the background that we pick and choose. Well, we'll deal with Alberta. It's much easier.
Yeah. We appreciate that, Dave.
Well,
we like it a lot. Actually, Dave, let's stick.
But you are coming to Ontario, I think.
We're trying.
I think you've got a distributor working on that.
Well, like I said, we're trying. I don't know. I don't want to sound. I don't know what he's doing. That's not my area.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of things going on in the background. We're selling in Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the crazy places, every once in a while they place a 40 case order, 240 bottles for us. That's a big deal.
Yep.
If they ordered
All of a sudden,
10,000 bottles, that would kill us. We couldn't do it for them.
Dave, with two brewers, when they started out, they didn't have to worry about making gin or vodka, correct? They just went straight to beer.
Well,
They let beer get them through.
We started with beer. Beer paid for everything.
Yeah.
And I keep asking the other breweries, why don't you guys start a distillery? Because they've got all the equipment. All you got to buy is a still. We've got the grain. We've got the fermenters. We've got the mash. We got everything there. We bought still.
So why not go to the clear spirits earlier? Because you guys didn't do that right away. It took you a while before you started getting into the gins.
I don't like, for me personally, I believe that our owners actually, because they're single malt whiskey fans, they said, okay, it's a time and investment thing. If I'm going to invest my time, am I going to fight with the vodka and the gin guys? Because 2009, craft spirits was not looked on very well.
Well,
it wasn't very much of. What's that?
It was almost non-existent in 2009.
Yeah. So we understood right away that you're going to have to put that whiskey down for a minimum of 3 years. And if you don't start today, you're never going to get to that 3-year mark. The new distillers are doing a vodka and gin because they can sell it the day after they make it, which is basically the day after they start making it. And they need money. We were lucky that we had money coming in from the beer. And it was kind of a joke around the brewery was, well, we're profitable and we've got money. What do we do with it? And somebody came up with oceanfront property in Brazil.
Nice.
What the hell? And then the thing said, well, we're going to start making whiskey. And I knew nothing about whiskey. And I've sure learned a lot. Yep. And Davin, you've really added to my education.
Davin,
yeah,
you mentioned that it's the liquor boards which are part of the problem with Canadian whiskey. I think it's also on us as enthusiasts, as the whiskey geeks, however we term ourselves. We need to educate ourselves. We educate ourselves very well on Scotch whiskey, on Irish whiskey. We do a really good job on educating yourself on bourbon, on American whiskey. We do a poor job educating ourselves on Canadian whiskey. It's like, oh, Canadian, and you walk away from it. You don't invest your time and effort into it to understand, like, oh my goodness, there's bottles here in Canada. I'm like, oh, I want to try Golden Wedding. I want to try this. I need to look for this now. I need to go hunting for this. We don't do that. And that's on us as whiskey enthusiasts. We should be pushing ourselves further and going, we have this massive store whiskey on our doorstep. Why don't we know about it? Why aren't we drinking it? Why aren't we posting it on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook and saying, hey, you're coming over, you got to try this.
Well, I just can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're dead on. But I mean, a lot of people drink whiskey because it's cool, and they want to follow the trends. People don't drink Scotch because it's the best whiskey. They drink Scotch because they want to, put on a kilt and, celebrate their Scottish heritage and things like this. Why do people drink American whiskey? They drink American whiskey because they want a little bit of Americana. That's why, the best-selling American whiskey is Jack Daniels. It's not a connoisseur whiskey, but people take Jack Daniels and they imagine that they've left their black Harley Davidson, dirty black Harley Davidson outside, and they can swear and stuff, and it makes them feel tough,
Well, so, are you dissing my Harley?
Pardon me?
Are you dissing my Harley?
I didn't know you had one.
You, not your Harley. He likes the Harley. It's just you.
But if you look at it, I won't say all, but majority of the movies, everybody's drinking Jack Daniels. They're doing shots of J&D, JD.
Yeah.
Like it's, I've done a lot of celebrity not celebrity, but charity bartending, and I always would try Jack Daniels and Jim Beam, and I think I can't drink this. And then it finally dawned on me that late at night, once everybody was drunk, they would come to the bar and start buying shots. And that's the only time they would drink those two products is after they were already drunk, and it didn't matter at that point.
Jack Daniels is one of the very few whiskeys that I enjoy with chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think chocolate ruins the flavor of whiskey, and Jack Daniels is sweet enough and simple enough that it works well.
It works with it.
I've got to actually go research that further because you've got me now questioning. I love pairing chocolate and whiskey, and we have a local chocolatier here, and she does some amazing from bean to bar chocolate. And I'm like, Davin said, I need to find out more. I need to understand more of how this is blocking my taste buds and what I'm actually thinking I'm tasting now.
Well, I didn't say it's not enjoyable. What I'm saying is that you don't get the true flavors out of the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the benefit, and it's not like a happy marriage. Alcohol is wonderful at delivering flavor, and if you put chocolate with alcohol, it really enhances the flavor because you get more of it. But the idea of using expensive alcohol, to me, it is just a waste because you don't get to appreciate the alcohol, the whiskey or whatever, and you don't really get to appreciate the chocolate either. So that's why I really do love Jack Daniels and whiskey. But I know a lot of people like chocolate and whiskey together, but it's not like they're tasting either. They're tasting something else. It's almost like cooking with chocolate or cooking with whiskey. They're creating a new entity that has its own flavors. Yeah.
But maybe that's what we're looking for, Nick. We're looking for that new experience no matter what it is. And even if it's not one or the other to their optimum, maybe it makes something better in the middle. I don't know.
I want to know more. You know what? Yeah. More than anything, I want to know more and I want to understand more of that interaction. That's what this has done, especially with that chocolate component, because I'm a chocoholic next to my whiskeys. Yeah. It's like, I want to understand the hows of this. And that's the geek.
Yeah, which is good. It's what we all want to be, or well, we say we are. I like to say I'm a geek, and people make fun of me. Daniel, the Whiskey Throttle, makes fun of us all the time. Whiskey geek. Super. All right, I've got 3 whiskeys I'm going to throw out there because this is another part of the book. When I look at the book, I highlight stuff, I underline stuff, but I put stars beside whiskeys that I would like to see or that I would buy if I saw them. And I've got this in a list in my little book with me in the van in case I ever come across it. I wonder if anyone's seen these 3. Okay. It's Lock, Stock, and Barrel, Straight Rye Whiskey, 16-year-old. No. If you're looking on the book, it was page 164. Lock, Stock, and Barrel, Straight Rye Whiskey, 16-year-old. 53.5%. I think if I saw that, I'd be pretty happy. So that was one. The other one was the Collingwood 21-year-old rye.
Yeah. Ooh, that is sensational.
I don't think I've ever seen that because I love rye. And if I see an aged rye, I'm usually very happy. And I'm pretty sure I would have picked it up if I ever saw it. So that's my second of the 3. And my third of the 3 is the Canadian Rockies 35-year-old cask strength. Now, I've seen Canadian Rockies. I thought I saw a 30-year-old and not a 35. I might be wrong.
That's
but I've never seen the cask strength.
How much was it?
Oh, I haven't seen. No, I mean like
I think it's sold for $650 a bottle.
This one
in Alberta, and now, I think it's sold out almost right away.
Is that a Highwood product?
Yes, it is.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen those 3, and I'm looking for them. And if I ever get them, I'd be kind of happy, I think. I'm pretty happy.
Well, I already promised my granddaughter she could have mine when she turns 21.
Oh, which one, Davin?
And how old is she now? How old is she now?
Very young.
Well, you didn't tell her what size of bottle, I'm sure, Davin. So I think we can negotiate a little bit here.
Well, no, I was just thinking we should all show up for her 21st birthday if it was, only a few years off.
Sweetie. Yeah. Okay.
You won't be riding the motorcycle by then, Kent.
Oh, you might be. You don't know.
You never know. Yeah. It might be one of those 3-wheel type ones by then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those look really neat, to tell you the truth.
Actually, those are ex-in-laws of mine. Lehman Industries. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right,
One
guys,
that-
we're going to talk about Valleyfield for a second because we said nothing during our initial. And Valleyfield, that's Montreal, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. They have, with the same mash bill, the two different types of base spirits that come out.
Mhm.
Did anyone else think it would be really cool to actually have these two base spirits side by side?
Oh,
One
hell
out
yeah.
of the column still and the other one out of the pot still?
I would
Yeah.
love to try them.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I mean,
You can try one of them. One of them is bottled,
Hmm.
and it's called limited edition. That's the batch base.
Okay.
Going back to when we had Dr. Don on, he talked about going to blending school.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I said to Dolph, I said, hey, that sounds like a great road trip when we can do it again. But
Next.
if we talk nice to him, can he pull some of the base spirit and some of the blending spirit?
He will do that. That blending 101 that he does is truly phenomenal. You will be so overwhelmed by how much whiskey he puts out on the table. Honestly, it really, I don't think you could ever get to all of it. Yeah, and you'll have different ages. You'll have base spirit, different ages. You'll have the flavoring spirits, different ages. Honestly, it's there's nothing like it.
They're driving us home, so we're fine. I think.
Well, yeah.
How many times have you done that, Davin?
Well,
The one-
I've never done it with a class, but I've done that process with him. I don't know, a few times.
I thought he
can't
said
remember.
3. That's why.
It may well have been 3. Yeah.
Well, that just, I'm more on the technical side, so I need to know that information. I've been in the breweries where you get to taste beer at different stages, and it's just interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I just can't believe the patience it takes to set that blending school up and to run it for just one night. Honestly, it's. Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go, don't hesitate.
Nope,
Yeah.
I won't.
Well, I've got a lot of air miles I can't do anything with right now, so yeah, I'm ready to go.
So, do you have
Yeah,
enough?
next
Do
summer
you have
road
enough
trip.
to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tickets to Windsor?
Oh yeah, probably easily. But you're supposed to be related to me somehow.
Brother cousin.
Yeah.
You can take the train, can't you, Davin?
Pardon me?
Can't you take the train?
Can you use air miles on the train?
No, can you, like, where the train goes to Toronto, and doesn't it go into, where else does the train go?
It'll go to Windsor, but it's a murderous day. I mean, it's a long day doing it that way.
Oh, okay.
You go to Toronto, there's 5 hours, and then you have to sit around and wait, and eventually the train to Windsor comes and go down there. It's not something I would do by choice. I prefer to take the train if I'm just going to Toronto.
Yeah.
But for Windsor, I've done that once. And it's only because it was so windy the planes couldn't take off.
Oh, jeez.
It's
Yeah,
still
man,
quicker
it's a
than the
3-hour
3.5 days
drive
for us to drive.
Ottawa?
5 hours from Ottawa to Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
To drive. No.
It's about that to drive the way I drive.
Okay.
It's probably 4 for most people.
Okay. Good.
So
3.5 for me.
So Toronto to Windsor, how long driving?
I don't know, another 5 hours?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe less. Maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Maybe 3 or 4 hours. I don't know.
I've
You know
done
what?
it.
When you hear stuff like this, you think about the vastness of our country, right?
Oh yeah.
How far these things are. And you think about the cities around the Toronto area. There's so many there, but I was thinking Kitchener and I was thinking Borden was really close. And when I was finally there to actually, Borden's fairly close. It's an hour away. But to get to Niagara, which you think is fairly close, or on a map, it seems close enough until you take in, going around. It's just, it is vast, our country, and it's fantastic. And when we actually start talking about the new book, I think when we're in Ontario, we'll talk about how we're going to drive there. So we'll be on the 401 and we'll take something and get to this one. A little description about how we get to it.
When it's doing $1.40, not when it's doing parking.
Is that it? Okay. I'm going to ask everyone a question. So what is your favorite moment of the last 7 weeks? So not in the book. It could be something that happened on air, something that happened in the After Dram, something that happened off air after the After Dram, or something else. So
I'll start.
Okay.
It happened the first night, and I said something stupid like usual, and Davin went kind of red and gave me a tongue lashing.
What did you say?
Really?
I forget what it was, but your reaction was, I thought, oh shit, this is more serious than I thought.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah.
Might have to replay night one.
Might have to, because I don't remember that.
Oh, I remember you looking right at me thinking, oh, I'm in trouble now.
My friend, I've got one camera. It's here.
I'm looking right at everybody.
I'm looking right at everybody. Well, can you see my eyes? Because I'm looking at them all.
Until I put my glasses on. But then Dr. Don came on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get my book until the second week. So I was studying pretty good. And then Don comes on and says, oh, hey, Dave, you're in the beer industry. I thought, oh, please don't ask me a technical question. You know, I've already taken my beating.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, no, I need to be put in my place every once in a while.
Well, I would prefer not to be the one to do that.
And I like, this is serious. Like, this got real serious real quick for me.
Yeah, whiskey's really serious.
Not serious at all.
But I look at it this way. I'm just amazed at how well you know what you've written and the stuff that's not in the book. And
he said that too, right? He says 10%, so he has a lot to say when someone asks questions.
yeah, and I look at that, and that it always impresses me, because if I'm talking to a group, I don't want to be the guy that kind of knows half the stuff that's going on. If I say something, I want to be able to back it up with some facts.
Yeah. I think that people should not start writing until they really understand the subject, really. You know, and that takes, well, I think the Crown Royal has it right. It takes 8 years before you know how to be a blender. And I think it takes just as long to learn how to write about a subject. I know people will just do it mechanically and, you know, they'll get the facts, but if you're giving everything you know, you're really not doing good analysis, and you really aren't doing good synthesis. And, you know, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still learning things. And that was one of the big benefits of doing this, is I learned a lot of things about my book that you know, will make the next time I write a book a lot better. Because, you know, there's some things that are so obvious to me that some people misunderstood. And, you know, so I'm going to be much more careful about how I express myself next time.
But I think as a society, we don't question too many things. Oh, hey, you got to buy Molson Canadian because it's on TV all the time. Okay, well, that's beer. Well, I don't really think that is beer.
Yeah.
And same thing with Canadian whiskey. We see the guys mixing drinks and they're partying at a bar and that kind of stuff. I don't think that's Canadian whiskey. Like that's not what I see Canadian whiskey as. And I think I always tell my kids, I said, you can't vote unless you know something about what's going on. I think if you don't know anything about whiskey, then you'll just buy whatever the advertising guys tell you to buy, and off you go, kind of thing. So
I still do the same thing and buy whatever they tell me to buy anyways. And I know my whiskey fairly well.
I always want people to explain it to me. Well, I'm ready to give you money, but just explain what's going on why I should give it to you.
Yeah.
Well,
my wife and me, that's the same. We, you know, getting into the whiskey world, and we both like Scotch from early age on, but I never knew what I really liked. And I never could say that I had developed my palate. I still can't say I've developed my palate to the point where I think I should be at. But we'd go out to a tasting and we'd taste something. We'd go through a flight of things overnight, and we like, I either like that or you don't like that. We like it, we buy a bottle. If we don't like it, we'd walk away and come back to the next tasting.
Yeah.
And we had a year, and it wasn't even that many years ago, 4 or 5 years back, we started doing our tasting. Luckily, we started in roughly September when we come into the place in the tasting time, and we were at a tasting 2 or 3 nights a week. We bought a lot of bottles in a short period of time, but we also learned what we liked and what we didn't like. And to this day, I don't like to go out and buy a bottle without having a tasting prior to it, because I hate putting a bottle on the shelf, taking a dram out of it, and deciding I don't like it.
So try it at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a bar.
You know what?
Try it.
Yeah. There's very few bars around here that have a really extensive wall that you can go and taste them at.
Okay.
That's where I think the whiskey events that we're doing, the Victoria show, the Calgary, Edmonton show, the Vancouver show, boy, what an opportunity to try stuff. The problem is that after you get a few samples and you really can't taste it anymore.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, your taste buds go away. But I think even what we're doing here is helping a lot. Like Dolph said, we're getting 8 or 10 people on watching this live, but we're getting 100 or plus people watching us after the fact, because those are people that are looking for, what should I try next? And these people are tasting it and telling me what they think of it. Do they honestly like it or they don't like it? And we're showcasing Canadian whiskeys right now. And
yep.
I went literally like you, Dave. I went from a couple bottles on the shelf of Canadian whiskey, and they were literally, for my guys that are rye drinkers that come over and mix it with Coke, and they get hammered on it, and it's a party, and that's all it is. I have over 30 bottles on my shelf of Canadian whiskey now. And that being said, I'm glad that, Canadian whiskey is being so undervalued, because it's really easy on my pocketbook. I put 30 bottles of Scotch on my shelf. Holy crap, I can buy a small car, right?
I always told my girls that if you don't know anything about it, the sales guys are going to take advantage of you, and they're just going to take your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going out and buying whiskey is no different than going out and buying chairs or a car. If you don't know anything about it, you're going to get sold something, and it may not be quite right.
You got to research it. I agree.
Yeah. But honestly, I think Canadian market is probably going to be the next emerging whiskey out there. We've seen it with the Scotch whiskey, and the price. Honestly, all of us have been buying whiskey for a while now. I remember, even 4 or 5 years ago, I was buying a decent bottle for $50 to $75. That same bottle is now over $125. Canadian whiskeys. I'm going out. I bought a CC20 for $65. Where are you going to find a Scotch of that caliber for $65? It doesn't exist anymore.
$65 used to be my limit. I would not spend more than $65 for a bottle.
Yeah.
Within that budget, I bought Ardbeg 1978, Ardbeg 1976, Ardbeg 1975, Ardbeg 30-year-old.
I want to get into your liquor cabinet.
And really, and now a lot of those bottles that I bought for $65, I've broken the seal on them, because when they hit $1,000, I break the seal, so I'm never tempted to sell it.
Well,
It's insane. And you got that 79 Dallas Dew. I've got Nick, that 79 Dallas Dew.
It was at a restaurant that I had tasted.
Oh darn! I've got the same one upstairs, and I did a Dallas Dew tasting in Fredericton a few years ago. We had, I think, 6 Dallas Dews.
Wow.
I do a closed distilleries tasting there every year. We've done Port Ellen and Imperial and Dallas Dew, and can't remember. But anyways, it's for something pretty special.
Port Ellen is just amazing.
I keep watching for auction for that one to come up, and it's going to be a buy.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good whiskey.
So do you think Scotch has that perception now, because everybody's buying whiskey, that we can just keep raising the prices because they just keep buying it? It's kind of like taxes.
It's marketing. It's straight up marketing for Scotch. Scotch is, being, our whiskey of choice. And I got told by our good buddy here in Edmonton, Graham Usher, the other day, about, he never calls it Scotch. It's always whiskey. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You do call that. It might be lost on you, Davin, but he's one of our local proprietors of a store here. He does a lot of tastings. He's very much a Springbank kind of fellow, and he's got amazing liquors in his cabinet as well that he shows us from time to time and amazes us with.
He's got whiskey in his veins, though, from his
yeah.
ancestors.
Yeah. Well, Usher.
Usher
is an old brand from the early 1900s. I think is when they sold out or closed down. So,
Nick, I'm going to bring this back to you. I still want to know your favorite moment of the 7 last broadcasts.
I think it was when we had Davin and Dr. Don on and talking and just listening to the information coming from both of them coming back and forth. I just sort of sat there in awe and just soaked it up going, I know nothing.
You know plenty.
Yes.
Well, I know plenty, but I know nothing about Canadian. And it has driven me to really ask a lot of questions and to think about, like today, as I was reviewing the last couple chapters, they were talking about Gimli and you were talking about how people from Iceland came to Gimli. I'm like, what? And that's stopping. I'm going, this is Canadian history. I don't know this. And it's kind of mind-boggling going, we really don't know the history of our own country. We don't know how important some of these big 8 have played in the development of the country.
Yeah, that's really true.
So it was all that history, and I'm just sort of soaking up. And I guess for me too, it's been a counterpoint because I'm helping teaching my niece and nephew who are home. So they're with my parents who are the grandparents schooling, and they're doing Canadiana. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to help them with their Canadiana history, and I question my own history knowledge of Canada. So it's been interesting that way.
And we as Canadians get taught a lot of Canadian history, but we're still very ignorant about our own upbringing. We're a young country. We should know everything about what's going on and where we came from. And we don't. We are, we're taught, I'll say for the mathematician in the group, 25% Canadian history, 75% world history. And then I laugh because I talk to my American friends and they're taught 100% of their state. This is their bonds.
Yeah.
And the real world, they know 1% about, and I laugh because I remember 20 some odd years ago, on a BBS talking to an American friend of mine that we're still friends. We've met several times over the years, but she had no clue about what you drive in, you live in an igloo and drive on sleds in the winter, right? And because that's what they're taught, right? They think we're all Yukon or Northwest Territory living, and we're all Indian based, and away we go, right? And I like to think that in Alberta, our education system is a little bit more advanced than that. We get actually a pretty good history lesson, but
I think we do pretty well. I think we're doing all right.
I think we do all right, but I think we could probably do even a little bit better.
I agree. And history-wise, what you can go to university. I had my 2 pre-Confederation and 2 post-Confederation courses for 2 years, and you learn a lot about Canada in small periods of time and when the railroad was created and the economic and political systems. There's a lot, but there's so much more to it too, and so many different aspects. But what do you focus on? Different provinces decide on different things, different states, different things as well. However, I'm going to bring me back to here. I want to talk about my moment, and it was along the same veins as Dave's, where Davin corrected me. And I think
Davin has corrected all of us at one point.
I think you remember this. So Davin corrected me during my account of my favorite part of Section 4, where the Americans are lobbying their government to put Canadian on the whiskey. And supposedly, and on the label, and it backfired for them. And I was so caught up in this love of this kind of thing that I mislook it. And I can't even remember what I said to Davin. It's like, buddy, it was in your book or something like that. But I went back and I missed. I love the section so much. I wrote all in the sections and on the sides, but I missed. Yeah, this is excellent. I got this, and this is the quote I'm going to use. It's all written there. But I got caught up in that, and I missed the disclaimer at the end where the lore of the whiskey is built on an oral tradition that sometimes masks a lack of hard evidence, which he had right there. So I missed it.
Well, I think I was correcting myself.
That one part, I thought it was so cool. And how he called them out afterwards, and then Canadian whiskey did even better. But so one was right, one was true, one was not true, or it's myth and lore. But I still like the story. But that was my one moment. That'll stick with me, I think, for a very long time.
I remember that because I think it went something like, "That is not what I said."
Yeah. Dolph,
well, I corrected myself because that was not well explained in the book. I was being a little bit sarcastic, and if you didn't catch the sarcasm, you got exactly the opposite impression. And I think I'll avoid explaining it that way in the future.
You know what? No, it was said in the book, Davin. I just missed it. But like I said, I was excited. I loved the thing. I loved the story. And I got caught up in the mystery and the lore, right? It was good.
And I kind of read it the same way Dolph did. I'm glad he said it, not me.
That'd be the second most important thing that he shut me down.
I'm sitting back here thinking, man, I'm glad I didn't say that.
The other one would be when you woke up 20 minutes before the end of the thing and you came in. That's going to be something that's going to be on my mind for a while.
I was working in the yard and it was hot and I was sampling whiskey, so I knew what I was talking about. And I sat down 5 to 6, so I want to watch the COVID-19 report. All of a sudden, holy shit! I'm
late.
Yeah.
Oh.
The beep button. Beep.
Yeah, too late. So, Davin, we're finishing with you. Do you have a fun kind of a moment that you thought was really cool in this all that you sat back and said, yeah, that's really cool? Or you remembered afterwards like, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Well, I really enjoyed the whole thing. I think it got better from one week to the next. Technically, it got better. And as we got to know each other, the discussion has been more free-ranging and more casual. I think we've benefited from that. No, I learned a lot, to be quite honest, from you guys. And, I think I will express myself better in the next time.
That's possible, buddy.
Your book is amazing. Well, it truly is.
I am proud of that book.
And you should.
I wish that people would not. I wish there were no phrases that people could misunderstand, though.
No, there's phrases where people they miss things out.
Yeah.
This book right here.
Yeah.
Davin, you know what? I've got your first book, but I didn't read the first book. You autographed it for me in Banff. So it's on the shelf, but I didn't read that one. I just read this one because that's what I do. I pigeoneer it. I write in the margins. I didn't want to write in that one. Can you tell me the difference between your first and second? Mm-hmm. First edition, second edition?
Well, a lot of changes in the science.
Okay.
There were some changes from, things had changed significantly within the industry. For example, the 40 Creek chapter is different because John Hall had sold the distillery and it was now a Campari distillery. And it's hard. I went back to that book the other day and there was a lot there that was just really not the same. I think the whole first section has really been quite recrafted. Now, when they won't publish a new edition unless at least 35% of the material has been
changed,
revised, or replaced.
Oh, okay.
But, it's otherwise it's kind of dishonest.
Is there something I should go back and read that? Because you know what, you're so invested when you write, and then to take something out, you feel like it's been taken away, a loss. Is there something I should go back and read that would still be really good?
I think that you are quite fine to have read this version.
All right.
Something that I find really interesting is that the first edition still sells fairly well as a Kindle book.
Okay.
It's out of print in paper, but as a Kindle book, it's still selling.
So, can I ask how many books were published on your first one and your second one?
Well, I think that's kind of confidential, because it.
Well, that's
all right.
But
None of your business.
people don't like to talk about how many books are published were printed and how many were sold.
Okay.
It's thousands and thousands.
See, and I have no concept of book publishing, so I have no idea.
What's right and wrong?
Yeah, like I know how many empty cans you have to buy to get your labels put on it.
Yeah. Well, David, I know that I have both paper and digital, so you got 2 of this one out of me.
Thank you.
And 1 digital of this out of me.
Well, you know what? Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and it makes a wonderful Mother's Day present.
Kind of late now.
Mothers out there, we love you, and we think you should have the book. This book,
The new one.
Mother's Day 2000.
Yeah. My mother is. I'm trying to get her into whiskey, and she doesn't have a palate for alcohol, so she likes wine. So anything stronger than that is a little harsh for her. But day by day, I keep trying to, a little bit here, a little bit there, stuff like that. But I do have one question for you. Going across Canada and dealing with all these distilleries and breweries and stuff like that, do you have one that you talk to that's become a friend?
Quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few who welcome me friendly.
That came up in our conversation when I was asking Davin to bring someone on. I was thinking someone that was a friend, someone that it's not just the best selling one in the province, but someone you get along with really well, or someone who you're just really rooting for. I'm an underdog or underdog. I'll have more. All right. I'm an underdog kind of guy. And so I was hoping that maybe Davin there'd be a great friend out there, an underdog, someone just trying to really get into the distillery business that comes in. So this is a beautiful book, by the way. And we don't talk about that enough. Like if you look at the pages, it's a visual guy like me and Dave down here. We love the beautiful book and the pictures, and this is going to be so much fun. But to have the people coming in that might be good friends or have become good friends would really add, I think, to the whole ambiance of it, because it's a road trip. And if I was on a road trip with you, Davin, and we would go to a place, you would want me to meet your good friend at this distillery, I think. Yeah. And it would not be the biggest or smallest. It would just be good friends meeting each other.
There are people who I really admire and I really enjoy being with and talking to. I mean, the guys at Stillwater's are pretty awesome. And they really are, both of them. The guys at Shelter Point are, again, really cool guys and interesting to talk to about other stuff. So there are quite a few. I like, Matt Hendricks at Park Distillery.
Oh, yeah.
He's really got his act together, and he's so just so engaged in making his all his spirits, but his whiskey especially.
Is he a young guy?
Yeah, he's a young guy, yeah.
I met him in Calgary one time, and the story he was telling had me I was just spellbound, listening, waiting, and
he's a pretty interesting guy.
Yeah, we did a tasting when he first was kind of doing a soft opening, and I remember tasting his stuff and going, "Oh my God, this is really not good stuff." And then we came back a year later, and I was like, "Holy crap! You have just kicked it right up a notch, eh? You've kind of figured it out. But I mean, I think what we tasted was damn near new make the first time around. It was quite a lot of fun. Yeah.
Which is good to try too. I love trying the new make just to see what it is, kind of unadulterated, right?
Well, yeah, and that's just it. I mean, even out at Nisku there, the brewers out there or the distillers, we got in there way early and stuff like that. And it was the same thing with them. There was stuff like, we kind of didn't really know them back then. And now, I mean, I go out there and say, yeah, you need to change this. Back then is like, okay, I wouldn't buy this. And I mean, now, God, we go through bottles and bottles of their double and everything else and make them. I still have lot 1 from before they changed their name over because it's legal with a hockey player in Ontario.
Guys in Ottawa.
Oh, in Ottawa, there, yeah. Anyways, he wouldn't even talk to them. They offered to freaking license his name, and he wouldn't even talk to them. Yeah, everything went through his lawyer. Anyways, hockey players.
You like hockey players?
No, I do not. I absolutely do not.
Okay. Well, guys, I think we've come to it. It's kind of sad for me to do this because it means the end of us and our very first book club.
Yeah.
So
it means we have to wait 4 weeks till we can, have Davin back on full time again.
Oh
Right.
yeah, you'll have Blair and he'll outshine me.
You know what, Davin? It's been just the penultimate pleasure having you on with us over these past 7 weeks. I've learned a lot. Your personality, your knowledge, and you're engaging. And there's no other place I would have rather been these last 7 Saturdays. So
I get agree. Yeah.
Well, Davin, I'll give you a last second if you have any comments before I do my regular spiel on the way out.
Before he falls over and goes to sleep.
The only thing I would say is thank you very much. I really enjoyed the time with you, and I appreciated that you took the time to study my book and ask critical questions about it. Thank you very much. What a pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, Whiskey brothers and sisters. Thanks again to Davin for his company and his guidance. This has been a milestone episode for us. It represents the end of our first book club, and one that I and hopefully everyone else here, we heard it tonight, everyone enjoyed. So here's to good company, good whiskey, good books, and good conversation. And here's to seeing you all next week, Saturday, May 16th, for our Ralphie editions of the Whisky Book Club and After Dram. And I got to say good night to you all, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Davin.
Thank you, Davin.
Thank you again, Davin.
Yeah.